Let's be honest. We've all streamed a movie lately and thought, this would be so much better if I could actually play this scene. The promise of truly cinematic gaming often falls short, leaving us with a beautiful opening but muddy, boring gameplay. But what if there's a secret selection of single-player games where the visual fidelity, the direction, and the sheer narrative weight are so overwhelming that they genuinely feel like a multi-million-dollar film production? Prepare to have your concept of interactive entertainment completely redefined, because we've gathered the list of masterpieces so beautiful, you won't believe they aren't on Netflix. Have you ever wondered what the dark, wild origins of a folklore legend would actually look like in a game? Blacktail throws you into the role of Yaga, a young girl accused of witchcraft, in a stunningly stylized Slavic fairy tale world. The visual design is where this game truly shines. A haunting mix of vibrant, saturated colors set against the moody, ancient forests, creating a distinct, almost oil-painted atmosphere that changes dramatically based on your morality choices. The gameplay centers on an engaging bow and arrow combat system mixed with elemental powers and a morality compass that subtly shifts the world around you, from the dialogue you hear to the environmental hazards you face. As you explore this surreal landscape, collecting lost memories and battling mythical beasts, you're constantly making choices that determine whether Yaga becomes the terrifying Baba Yaga or a benevolent protector. It's a compelling ethical dilemma wrapped in a gorgeous package. And here's where it gets interesting. The art direction leans so heavily into theatrical folklore that it gives the entire experience a sense of epic cinematic tragedy, much like a dark animated feature. The character models are expressive, the creature designs are deeply rooted in myth, and the score adds a layer of profound melancholy. If you appreciate games that fully commit to a unique artistic vision, Blacktail offers a beautifully dark and emotionally resonant adventure that feels completely fresh. Sable is the kind of game that stops you in your tracks just so you can admire the view. Drenched in the distinct style of iconic European comics, its cel-shaded visuals feel like you're playing through a beautiful, hand-drawn graphic novel by the likes of Moebius. The world is a vast, open desert filled with ancient structures and the remnants of a vanished civilization, all rendered in striking, vibrant lines against a minimalist, yet profound backdrop. The core loop involves traversing this silent world on your hoverbike, collecting pieces to build your mask, and helping nomadic groups as part of the titular character's coming-of-age journey, known as the gliding. There's no combat, only exploration, puzzle solving, and platforming, which creates an incredibly peaceful and meditative experience. The freedom of movement, climbing any surface in the game's open world, encourages you to simply go where your curiosity takes you. You know that feeling when a movie's art direction is so strong it becomes a character itself? Sable captures that perfectly. Every frame is meticulously composed, emphasizing scale and solitude. It's accompanied by an incredibly atmospheric soundtrack by Japanese Breakfast that perfectly captures the sense of gentle discovery and wonder. This is a must-play for anyone who values stylistic presentation and a tranquil journey over high-octane action. If you're looking for a game that uses its technical prowess to deliver a gut-wrenching cinematic experience, look no further than A Plague Tale: Requiem. This sequel immediately ramps up the visual fidelity, presenting a brutal yet breathtaking medieval France. The character models are astonishingly detailed, capturing every flicker of anguish or determination in siblings Amisha and Hugo, making their fight for survival feel deeply personal. But let's talk about the rats, and we must, because they are the spectacle. The game manages to render literal swarms of thousands upon thousands of individual rats, creating an overwhelming, terrifying, and utterly cinematic threat. When the waves of vermin flood the screen, it's a terrifying display of technical achievement that turns a simple stealth puzzle into a heart-stopping horror sequence, straight out of a disaster film. The story itself is relentlessly paced, trading the small-scale desperation of the first game for a grand, emotionally draining odyssey. The game's set pieces, from escaping a massive port to exploring beautiful sun-drenched islands, are framed with the scope and polish of a high-budget historical epic. It perfectly blends high-stakes action with quiet, intimate character moments, making it a true narrative powerhouse that completely justifies its reputation as a stunning visual and emotional journey. Don't let the name fool you. Little Nightmares 2 is a terrifyingly beautiful exercise in cinematic horror and atmosphere. This game masters the art of the diorama, presenting you with a grotesque, meticulously detailed world through a fixed 2.5D perspective. Every environment, from the dark, rain-slicked city streets to the creepy, silent schoolhouse, is staged and lit with the precision of a psychological thriller. The tension is built not through jump scares but through the overwhelming scale of the world and the monstrous figures that inhabit it. As the small protagonist, Mono, you are constantly dwarfed by your surroundings and the terrifying antagonists like the teacher or the hunter. This focus on scale is a brilliant cinematic trick, emphasizing vulnerability and creating a perpetual state of dread that feels like a classic Tim Burton nightmare brought to life. The gameplay is a tense mix of stealth, platforming, and light puzzle solving, with every action amplified by the crushing atmosphere. There is virtually no dialogue, meaning the entire story and emotional resonance are conveyed purely through visual storytelling, environmental design, and the incredible sound design. Little Nightmares 2 proves that true beauty can be found in the darkest places, delivering an unforgettable, haunting experience that feels like watching a silent horror masterpiece. Stepping into the retro-futuristic world of the Invincible is like diving headfirst into a classic piece of hard science fiction, reminiscent of the best 1960s space films. The aesthetic is known as atom punk, all chunky buttons, analog screens, and practical grounded technology, a refreshing counterpoint to modern sleek sci-fi. The planet Regis 3 itself is rendered with striking, alien beauty, a desolate and intimidating landscape that perfectly captures the sense of isolation. The game puts you in the boots of scientist Yasna, searching for your lost crew on a hostile planet. Gameplay is focused on exploration, investigation, and narrative choices, utilizing period-accurate scientific tools like rangefinders and telescopes. This slow, deliberate pacing forces you to observe the environment, absorbing the planet's vast, silent, and mysterious presence, turning every step into a carefully composed cinematic moment of discovery. What elevates The Invincible to a movie-like experience is its strong philosophical backbone, taken directly from Stanisław Lem's novel. The central conflict isn't just survival, it's grappling with the limits of human knowledge and the terrifying indifference of the cosmos. The voice acting is superb, and the camera work, especially during wide shots of the desolate planet, feels like it was directed by a master filmmaker. It's a compelling, thought-provoking thriller that prioritizes atmosphere and intelligence over action. Ghost of Tsushima is arguably the definitive example of a video game as a Kurosawa film. Sucker Punch didn't just build an open world, they built a living, breathing, feudal Japanese masterpiece. The visual artistry is breathtaking, from the golden fields of pampas grass swaying in the wind to the vibrant crimson leaves of autumn. The game is constantly composing stunning, painterly vistas that demand you use the photo mode. The experience is deeply cinematic, not just visually, but in its presentation. The guiding wind mechanic replaces a traditional minimap, turning the act of navigation into a visual poem where you follow the wind to your next objective. Then there's the combat, a masterclass in satisfying samurai swordplay. Duels are framed like classic movie showdowns, demanding patience, precision, and rewarding you with brutal, fast-paced elegance. And here's the game changer, the inclusion of Kurosawa mode, playing the entire adventure in stark, dramatic black and white, complete with film grain and a specially tuned audio track, proves the game's visual confidence. It transforms the beautiful world into a gritty, cinematic tribute, reinforcing the narrative of honor and sacrifice. Ghost of Tsushima is an interactive epic that flawlessly captures the heart and soul of classic samurai cinema. If you appreciate science fiction horror that is visually unsettling and profoundly existential, Soma is your ticket. Developed by Frictional Games, the masters of atmospheric horror, this title places you in an underwater research facility, Pathos 2, that is collapsing both physically and conceptually. The world is a gorgeous, suffocating claustrophobic mess of rust, bioluminescence, and deep-sea pressure, giving it the unnerving beauty of a deep-sea diving nightmare. The game excels at environmental storytelling. As you navigate the decaying structures, the visual details tell a terrifying story of isolation and the gradual loss of humanity. There's almost no combat. The tension comes from avoiding grotesque, mutated machines and grappling with difficult moral choices, making the experience feel like an intense, first-person psychological thriller that you can't look away from. Soma's cinematic brilliance lies in its relentless philosophical questioning. It uses its stunningly realized, terrifying world to ask, what constitutes consciousness? Are we defined by our physical body or our memories? The narrative beats and reveals are structured like a classic sci-fi film, building towards devastating emotional and intellectual conclusions. It's an essential, beautiful horror experience that stays with you long after the screen goes dark. Deliver Us Mars immediately sells itself as a high-stakes, big-budget sci-fi drama. Set 10 years after its predecessor, it features a fantastic level of detail in its space environments, from the crisp, lonely silence of the Earth-orbiting arc to the beautiful red desolation of the Martian landscape. The lighting and visual effects are used perfectly to emphasize the scale and solitude of space travel and deep space exploration. You play as Kathy Johansson, an astronaut on a mission to recover vital Ark vessels stolen by a shadowy group. The gameplay blends intricate zero-gravity traversal, engaging environmental puzzles, and segments of challenging platforming, all wrapped up in a compelling narrative about family and survival. The experience is incredibly immersive, thanks in part to the meticulous rendering of the spacesuits and the internal station environments. The cutscenes and narrative presentation are its most cinematic strengths. The game uses frequent flashbacks, personal logs, and expertly choreographed action sequences to maintain a movie-like pace, focusing heavily on character drama and emotional tension. When you step out onto the red surface of Mars for the first time, the sheer visual power of the moment is undeniable, making Deliver Us Mars a fantastic interactive spectacle for sci-fi film fans. Gris is less of a game and more of a playable watercolor painting. This title is a masterpiece of minimalist beauty and emotional expression, telling a story of grief and recovery purely through visuals and music. Its art style is defined by soft lines, sweeping, fluid animations, and a gradually expanding palette of colors that reflect the protagonist's emotional state, creating a dynamic, living artwork. The gameplay is a simple, meditative platformer, where the protagonist, Gris, gains new abilities that allow her to navigate the increasingly complex and abstract world around her. There are no enemies, no death, and no on-screen text. The focus is entirely on the journey and the visual poetry of movement. This purity of design encourages you to simply flow through the world, absorbing the atmosphere and the deeply resonant emotional undertones. The cinematic quality comes from its striking composition and the sheer emotional weight of the experience, which feels like a deeply personal animated short film. Every scene transition, every platforming challenge, and every splash of new color is timed perfectly to the orchestral score, resulting in moments of breathtaking visual and auditory harmony. Gris is an absolute must-play for anyone who believes video games can be an elevated form of artistic expression, easily standing alongside the most beautiful animated features. Wytchwood is a feast for the eyes, presenting a charming and detailed storybook world rendered in a distinct, Gothic-inspired folk art style. It looks exactly like an antique storybook that has come to life, filled with whimsically grotesque creatures and beautifully designed environments like dank swamps, frozen forests, and bustling villages. The entire aesthetic commitment to the fairy tale setting is its most immediate cinematic draw. You play as the Witch of the Woods, a grumpy old crone tasked by a mysterious goat with finding the souls of 12 monsters. The core gameplay loop is an engaging crafting and resource-gathering adventure. You gather, harvest, and concoct spells to solve puzzles and overcome obstacles, which gives the game a satisfying rhythm. It cleverly avoids combat, making the challenge center on observation and ingenious solutions, giving the world a more meditative and thoughtful pace. What makes it feel like an interactive animated film is the visual presentation of its characters. Each one is a unique, exaggerated caricature brought to life with witty dialogue and expressive animations. The dark humor woven into the narrative, coupled with the distinctive art, ensures that the world of Wytchwood is constantly inviting and surprising. If you love games with a strong, singular artistic voice and a beautiful, macabre fairy tale mood, this one is pure magic. There are few games that capture the sheer sweeping grandeur of an epic Western film quite like Red Dead Redemption 2. From the snowy peaks of the Grizzlies to the dusty, sun-baked plains of New Austin, the world is a technical and artistic marvel. The developers crafted environments with an obsessive level of detail, using dynamic weather and natural lighting that create moments of breathtaking visual poetry, whether you're galloping through a storm or watching a perfect sunset. The story of Arthur Morgan and the Van der Linde gang is structured like a prestige television drama or a classic movie saga, filled with complex characters, moral compromises, and stunningly choreographed action sequences. The slow, deliberate pacing encourages immersion, allowing players to fully absorb the weight of the story and the beauty of the landscape, much like watching a lengthy, critically acclaimed film. The cinematic quality is reinforced by the incredible motion capture and facial animation, making every character interaction feel real and weighty. You know that moment when a movie captures a massive sense of scale? RDR2 delivers that every time you crest a hill and see the vast, untamed frontier laid out before you. It's a technical powerhouse that uses its visuals to support one of the most compelling and tragic narratives in gaming history. Solar Ash is a kinetic, vibrant spectacle of style and motion that feels like a brightly colored fever dream. It's set inside the Ultra Void, a massive vortex consuming worlds, which results in a series of highly stylized, abstract, and often surreal environments. The visual palette is dominated by intense neon colors, sharp geometric shapes, and a fantastic sense of scale, giving it the aesthetic of a high-speed, futuristic animated feature. You play as Ray, a Void Runner, who glides and skates across these broken worlds. The core gameplay is built around fluid movement, combining high-speed rail grinding, boost jumping, and swift traversal across impossible terrain. The simple joy of movement is infectious, providing a constant rush of visual energy, and the boss fights against the massive, monolithic remnants feel like climactic scenes from a mythological movie. The developers masterfully use lighting and environment design to convey emotion and story, often without a single word. The architecture of the collapsing worlds and the trails of neon light behind Ray create stunning compositions, making every traversal sequence feel like a perfectly choreographed action ballet. Solar Ash is a beautiful testament to how artistic style and fluid mechanics can blend into one seamless, exhilarating, and highly cinematic experience. As Dusk Falls approaches its visual identity in a radical and highly effective way, utilizing a striking graphic novel aesthetic, instead of traditional animation, the game presents key frames of 3D models and environments which slowly transition or hold on an image, making the entire experience look like a high-stakes, interactive comic book thriller. This intentional style amplifies the emotional impact of the characters' expressions and the dramatic tension of the scenes. The narrative is a gripping, complex drama that spans decades, following two families whose lives become intertwined after a robbery gone wrong in a small Arizona town. The gameplay is entirely choice-driven, focusing on quick-time events, dialogue selection, and split-second decisions that drastically alter the branching plot. This mechanic places the player firmly in the director's chair, making the visual style a perfect frame for the unfolding drama. You know that feeling when a TV show has an amazing pilot episode? The pacing, the high-quality writing, and the professional voice acting in As Dusk Falls make every chapter feel precisely that way. The deliberate, static camera shots and close-ups force the player to focus intensely on the character's emotional state and the weight of their choices. It's a compelling, powerful narrative experience that redefines what a truly cinematic, interactive drama can be. Abzû is an absolute visual marvel, designed to transport the player into an underwater paradise that feels like an interactive feature-length documentary by Jacques Cousteau, reimagined through vibrant, flowing colors. The art style is immediately striking, clean, stylized, and beautifully abstract, emphasizing the vast, silent majesty of the ocean. It captures the unique sense of wonder and awe that comes with deep-sea exploration. The core of the gameplay is pure, uninterrupted movement. As a silent diver, you swim, glide, and surf through huge schools of colorful fish, ancient ruins, and sunlit kelp forests. There is no traditional dialogue or text. The story is told entirely through environmental cues, subtle character interactions, and the magnificent choreography of the marine life. This reliance on visual and auditory storytelling gives Abzû a powerful, silent, cinematic quality. You know that moment in a movie where the score swells and the visuals just take your breath away? Abzû delivers that moment repeatedly. The incredible, award-winning soundtrack by Austin Wintory works in perfect harmony with the visuals, turning every journey through a new biome into an emotional, balletic sequence. It's a short but profoundly moving experience, a beautiful, therapeutic escape that is pure artistry in motion. Nine Sols brings a truly unique and gorgeous aesthetic to the 2D action platformer genre, fusing traditional Taiwanese folklore with a stunning hand-drawn Taopunk science fiction style. The entire world is rendered with meticulously detailed 2D art and fluid animation that gives every character and environment a painterly, weighty presence. Playing it feels like an animated masterpiece by Studio Ghibli, but filtered through a dark, mythical cyberpunk lens. The gameplay is defined by a deep, challenging parry-focused combat system, often compared to Sekiro, emphasizing high-risk, high-reward engagements. The 2D exploration is smooth and encourages backtracking, But the real draw is the animation quality of the combat sequences, which are incredibly detailed and impactful. Each boss fight is a visually explosive, dramatic duel that is choreographed like a brilliant martial arts film. The cinematic feeling comes directly from the commitment to its Taopunk visual identity. The blend of ancient temples and high-tech mechanical components is consistently mesmerizing. The cutscenes are beautifully illustrated, pulling you deep into the mythological narrative of a hero's journey for vengeance. Nine Souls is a fantastic showcase of how deep artistic commitment can elevate an entire genre, delivering an action experience that is as beautiful to watch as it is rewarding to master. Control stands as a monument to brutalist architecture and cinematic, mind-bending visual effects. Set entirely within the secretive Federal Bureau of Control (FBC), the game's setting, the oldest house is constantly morphing, shifting, and breaking apart in spectacular fashion. The contrast between the mundane, concrete walls and the explosive, kinetic supernatural powers creates a unique, hyper-stylized look that feels like a cross between a David Lynch film and a high-budget sci-fi action flick. As director Jesse Faden, the gameplay is pure, telekinetic chaos. You use satisfying physics-based powers, launching chunks of concrete, flying, and possessing enemies that turn every firefight into a visually stunning, destructive light show. The game's real-time destruction and debris systems are phenomenal, ensuring that no two combat encounters look exactly the same, which constantly feeds the cinematic visual drama. And here's the genius part. The game weaves in live-action footage of the FBC's Dr. Darling, integrated seamlessly into the game environment and often overlaid onto the brutalist architecture. These moments blur the line between game and film, enhancing the sense of mystery and institutional paranoia. Control is a technical and visual spectacle that uses its striking aesthetic and chaotic action to deliver a truly unforgettable movie-like experience. Call of the Sea is a stunning, vibrant adventure set on a mysterious island in the South Pacific during the 1930s. The game adopts a beautiful, clean art style with highly saturated colors and stylized, expressive character models, creating an atmosphere that is both inviting and deeply unsettling. It immediately establishes a sense of vintage cinematic charm reminiscent of classic adventure films. You play as Nora, searching for her missing husband's expedition. The core gameplay loop is focused on environmental puzzle solving and exploration, emphasizing observation and documentation. The pacing is deliberate, allowing the player to fully absorb the rich detail of the exotic environments and the Lovecraftian mystery that gradually unfolds, making the journey feel like a slow-burn narrative movie. What makes it so effective is the contrast between the gorgeous, brightly lit natural beauty of the island and the increasingly strange, ominous remnants of a lost civilization. The story and Nora's narration are presented with the polish of a high-quality audio drama, anchoring the emotional narrative. Call of the Sea is a visual pleasure that wraps a compelling, mysterious adventure in a beautiful, warm package, proving that cinematic value doesn't always require massive scope or high-octane action. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a masterclass in using visual and audio presentation to convey a deep, personal psychological journey, often feeling more like an experimental art film than a traditional game. It follows the Celtic warrior Senua as she journeys through the Viking underworld, a beautifully rendered mythic landscape that constantly shifts to reflect her internal struggle with psychosis. The game is famous for its groundbreaking use of motion capture, making Senua's emotional performance incredibly real and intense, a true feat of cinematic character portrayal. Furthermore, the brilliant use of binaural audio, which creates voices and sounds that appear to whisper directly into the player's ear, is a terrifying and immersive technique that perfectly externalizes her mental state. The gameplay is a mix of visceral, impactful combat and environmental puzzles based on perspective, requiring Senua to see the world differently. Its visual power comes from the seamless integration of haunting, often blurred-out reality with terrifying mythological visions. The inclusion of live-action video overlays, which blend into the rendered environments, further amplifies the cinematic feeling. Hellblade is a short, emotionally draining, and essential experience that is visually stunning and narratively profound. Sea of Solitude is a powerful, emotionally charged narrative that uses its striking visual design to explore themes of loneliness, anger, and human connection. The game takes place in a submerged, flooded city, where the water levels dynamically change, reflecting the protagonist Kay's emotional state. The art style is deliberately stylized, featuring vibrant, saturated colors that contrast sharply with the often monstrous representations of Kay's inner turmoil. The core gameplay involves navigating this beautiful, watery world in a small boat and on foot, solving light puzzles and avoiding massive, melancholy creatures that embody Kay's fears and regrets. It's an adventure focused entirely on visual and emotional metaphors, making the experience feel deeply symbolic and personal, much like an animated short film designed for therapeutic reflection. What makes it so cinematic is the way the world itself acts as a narrative device. When Kay is deeply depressed, the world is dark and filled with rain. When she finds connection, the sun breaks through, illuminating the gorgeous architecture rising from the water. Sea of Solitude proves that a game can be both a beautiful, vibrant spectacle and a profound, moving exploration of mental health, delivering an artistic experience that truly resonates. Uncharted 4 is the gold standard for blending cinematic action and visual fidelity, making it the closest a game has ever come to being a blockbuster Hollywood movie you can play. Naughty Dog's technical mastery is on full display, from the stunningly detailed character models and lifelike facial animations to the gorgeous, globe-trotting environments from Scottish ruins to bustling markets in Madagascar. The gameplay is a thrilling mix of cover-based shooting, challenging traversal, and large-scale action set pieces that are relentlessly choreographed. The famous car chase sequence alone is a tour de force of interactive filmmaking, using quick cuts, explosive visuals, and dynamic physics to deliver an adrenaline rush that rivals the best sequences in an action movie. The true cinematic success lies in the narrative, which is meticulously written and flawlessly performed, diving deep into Nathan Drake's commitment, regret, and family ties. The camera work during cutscenes and even during gameplay traversal is expertly framed, emphasizing scale and danger. When you combine the world-class voice acting, the spectacular locations, and the non-stop, high-octane spectacle, Uncharted 4 is undeniably an epic adventure that perfectly captures the heart and scope of big-screen storytelling. Have you ever seen a post-apocalyptic world feel so desperately beautiful? Metro Exodus is a narrative masterwork that fully embraces the cinematic scope of its environments, abandoning the tunnels of Moscow for the vast, ruined landscapes of Russia. The visual fidelity is staggering. Whether you're traversing sun-bleached deserts, snowy river valleys, or the haunting, irradiated ruins of a city, every location is rendered with obsessive detail, making the journey feel like a grand, high-budget road movie. The game perfectly blends linear, scripted storytelling with huge, semi-open exploration areas, ensuring the emotional beats land with movie-like precision while giving you room to breathe. The core gameplay loop focuses on gritty, realistic combat, constant resource management, and the terrifying tension of stealth, all heightened by the oppressive atmosphere. The dynamic day-night cycle and weather effects aren't just technical showcases. They actively shape the tone and challenge of every mission, further amplifying the cinematic immersion. What truly elevates Exodus is its focus on the human element amidst the chaos. The time spent aboard the Aurora train with your crew creates moments of quiet, heartfelt drama, giving the narrative the emotional weight of a survival epic. The lighting, particularly the use of flashlights and dimly lit interiors, creates a sense of perpetual dread and beauty. For a stunning blend of survival horror, tense action, and gorgeous environmental storytelling, Metro Exodus delivers a visually and emotionally charged cinematic experience. So there you have it, 21 games that prove the interactive medium can deliver visual and narrative experiences every bit as beautiful, profound, and cinematic as the movies we cherish. Whether you're looking for a profound philosophical journey or just pure technical spectacle, every single title on this list offers a feast for the eyes and a masterclass in atmospheric design. Now the big question, which of these visual stunners did we miss, or which one felt the most like a feature film to you? Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the journey, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the best games money can buy. There's always another masterpiece waiting to be discovered, and we'll see you in the next one.